What's going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadskii, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. And today, we are going to be talking about the Super Boss Kizuna. Now, we're going to be showing off my own, preemptive teams that I have right now. Unlikely these teams are going to change as the Kizuna progresses, and definitely these teams are going to change, because some of the teams aren't going to work for what I have in mind, but in theory, they have a lot of damage that you can output, so long as you have the right super tandem or final tap levels. It is very dependent on all of that. But just briefly, I wanted to touch upon the fact that the Kizuna Clash Sugo Fest and the support banner with the new Carrot, Luffy, Chopper, and all of that, these are now live. I did actually do pulls, but unfortunately, I was out of the time, and I decided to do them. Was probably a bad decision, but I ended up getting a couple of really cool stuff. So I ended up getting the Luffy, which is kind of nice. I got him on the discount of the Kizuna banner, and then it took me 6 multis to get the Carrot support. So these characters will be featured in my video when the actual Kizuna Clash does go live. But without further ado, let's actually jump into the Super Boss Kizuna teams, and then we'll discuss what happens along the way. So the first thing is first, we're going to have a look at the 15-star difficulty of the Dex variation of the Super Boss Brook. So with this one, Battle 1, you want to be building a team of Free Spirit and Slashers, because those are the characters that receive cooldown, and if you have any dual characters or double characters, their Super Switch ability will be completely charged at the start of the quest as well, which is very important for what we're trying to do. On Battle 2, the boss has 10 million health, and he inflicts, or they inflict, whoever it is, we don't know who it is yet, but they inflict 1 turn of attack down and 1 turn of special bind to your crew, so you have to deal with that. But if you don't kill the boss, what will occur after that turn is that they're going to remove your beneficial effects, and for 5 turns, you get a 1.1 attack and all boosting effect. After that happens, the enemy will run away. So if you want to build a team that potentially tanks these effects, just so you don't have to bring a unit to remove the special bind and the attack down on Battle 2, you can do that, but just note that you will get all your removed beneficial effects, accumulated values if you are trying to store stuff, as well as the fact that you will be given a really bad attack and all boosting effect. So potentially, if you have a way to remove your beneficial effects on the final stage, that could be an option. But also something on the final boss stage is that the final boss does have an interrupt. If you go ahead and apply a delay, or you boost your slot effects, he's going to remove your accumulated values and beneficial effects and inflict 8 turns of despair to the crew. Obviously not a good thing. And there's also going to be 1 turn of paralysis, 1 turn of special bind, and 6 turns of rainbow shield % damage reduction. So there's a lot to break down there. This team that you're seeing here should be able to get through it pretty comfortably. I don't know how much damage it does, but it should do a lot of damage nonetheless. So one of the really cool things about using K-Dad as our captain is the fact that with his captain ability, we can remove 10 turns of attack down. So any infliction of attack down, we can ignore, specifically looking at Battle 2 there. So we do have to deal with the special bind, which is why we do have the Riser support attached to him, removes 2 turns of paralysis or special bind when inflicted with it, which is great. So on Battle 2, all of those debuffs are removed. Now remember, on Battle 3, we're not allowed to delay or activate a slot effect boost. So what we can do is we can use the special ability of Odin, which will give us the effect of changing the strength slots into Wano, but more importantly, the 2 turns of 2.75 orb boost. And then after using the special ability of K-Dad, there is also going to give us a 3 times boost for 2 turns for our attack. However, if we use Odin's special beforehand, it will make the orb boost and the attack boost that we get become a 3-turn boost and also become buffed. So we get 3.25 attack and a 3 times orb boost for 3 turns that we can carry into the final boss stage. So specifically, if you don't have your own K-Dad, you can go ahead and use a K-Dad friend captain and then use your own V1 Odin, or you could do vice versa, whatever you want to do. That allows you to get access to super strength with Odin's super type, as well as the super slasher with the K-Dad super class. Also for this team, we've got a couple of other key supports. We have this one attached to the Ace and Yamato character with Sabo, which allows us to remove special bind when we reach the last stage, which is what occurs. That'll get rid of the special bind for our crew, which is very, very good. We also have to deal with paralysis, which is why we have this law. This was the last unit on the crew that I kind of put on here. There's really not a lot of room for good characters here. His special does remove paralysis, which is kind of nice. It gives us 2x color affinity, and if we have 3 or more Dex, Tandem, or Wano slots, we get a 1.0 chain multiplier boost. So what we'd normally do is we'd use the special ability, or the super class of K-Dad on the final stage, so that when we actually use the Law special, we get a chain multiplier boost. And then when we use the special ability of Zoro, it's going to remove the Rainbow Shield, as well as give us the chain multiplicative buff and the tap timing chain buff as well. So it ends up being pretty nice. So we'll have the attack boost from K-Dad, the orb boost from Odin, massive chain multiplier related stuff from Zoro, and then we also have the chain boundary and the attack boost. Well, we already have an attack boost, but the status attack boost, the burn attack boost that occurs from Ace and Yamato, which does go through immunity with their super switch, because their super switch is going to be activated. So it enables us to get the chain boundary. We'll get the conditional boost from them as well. And then a lot of people are going to ask, why are we even using Bon Clay as the friend captain here? Because he can become anything that we want. He can become a super strength character, as well as being a slasher free spirit, so he can work with the rest of the crew. And that means that when we use his special ability as well, which is going to give us a base attack boost, and then the super type, which normally gives you a chain lock, isn't going to activate because we have the chain boundary with Ace and Yamato. So this is going to do a pretty good amount of damage, and of course the more levels you have invested into your K-Dad, the more damage this team is going to inflict. But as I mentioned, if you don't have your own K-Dad, you can use one as a friend captain, and by doing that, it actually allows you to use Kinemon Denjiro as a sub, Legend Kinemon Denjiro, that is. So, like, hypothetically, if you didn't have your own K-Dad, it actually makes it a little bit easier, because, like, if maybe you didn't pull for Zoro, you can actually go ahead and use the dual unit of Kinemon Denjiro, because their special will remove the 6 turns of % damage reduction, which is actually really, really nice, and it also provides a pretty good orb boost, so potentially if you're not using your own Odin, this could also be another option. It also gives a base attack boost if you're not going to use Bon Clay, but also the fact that this character's free spirit, their super switch will be completely charged, which will give a 50% slasher resistance down to all the enemies, so it allows you to get an additional bonus damage from that. So the fact that this unit is available if you don't have your own K-Dad is actually kind of a blessing in disguise, depending on the situation. Another character that you may want to consider is going to be this Strength Riser, which came out with K-Dad, because he removes Special Bind, he removes Defense Up, he does Delay, which is obviously not that good, but the fact that you can use this on Battle 2 to get around the Special Bind, he also locks your slots, so you could use K-Dad's super class, lock them with this special, get around the Special Bind, so you have really good orbs on stage 2 and on stage 3, so that might be something you want to look at. And also, another character that's kind of interesting is Strength Mihawk, this guy, the World Journey Mihawk. This character is currently purchasable from the Sugo Metal Exchange, and he is a unit that is a slasher, which helps out the team. He's a strength unit, which gives you type advantage, but gets rid of paralysis and Special Bind, and he also removes Rainbow Shield. So he does a lot of really cool things that he essentially deals with nearly all the debuffs on the final stage by himself. So if you are looking for a good character to deal with a lot of the debuffs on the final stage, you may want to invest some of your Sugo medals into purchasing this guy from the Sugo Metal Exchange. Alright, looking at the next super boss is going to be versus the Quick Boss. Now this one is going to be a little similar. Instead of being Free Spirit and Slasher, it's going to be Free Spirit and Cerebral that receive the cooldown here. Now on Battle 2, the boss actually has a less HP, only 4.5 million this time, and your bottom row gets special reversed by 3 turns, and they get given the special lock, where you actually have to reduce their cooldowns. They will not reduce their own cooldowns by passively passing turns. So characters that reduce your character's cooldowns are going to be very, very important here. Once again, if you do not kill the boss, they will run away, but before they run away, they're going to remove all your beneficial effects and accumulated values. They give you super block slots, and they bind your ship for 5 turns. Obviously not a good thing. So with this one in particular, I would advise to try and aim to kill this boss. He only has 4.5 million, which is a lot easier to deal with. And then on the final boss stage, there's actually not a lot of gimmicks here. So there is a little note that mentions that there's no % damage resistance by default, which is the gray shield if I remember correctly. So I wonder if people are going to opt to use the dual Blackbeard strategy. That is kind of interesting to think about. Either way, there is also 1 turn of Special Bind, 1 turn of damage reduction, and only 5 turns of Threshold. So there's actually not a lot to deal with here compared to the previous one that we talked about. So with this team here, we're using a similar strat with Bon Clay as the friend because we can get super class with Luffy and then super type with Bon Clay, which is really, really good. Zoro is a no-brainer here because he gives us a lot of additional damage. We also have the Hancock, Nami, and Robin because their special will provide one of the best color affinity boosts in the game to our Free Spirit crew. And then we also have the support of Carrot because when we reach the final stage, this new support will remove 1 turn of Rainbow Shield and 1 turn of Special Bind. So essentially, when we reach the final stage, the only thing that we have to remove is going to be 5 turns of Threshold, which luckily Zoro is able to do. We also have K-Dad. Now, K-Dad on this team is not required. He's only really here as the filler unit. You could replace this with essentially anything. Some of my teammates were thinking of some other things that we could use instead of him, but, you know, he's just here as a filler unit for now because his final tap will still activate. And remember, when you use Bon Clay as a friend and you use his special, we can make him become a slasher, being a Dex slasher free spirit, so his damage will count for the final tap of K-Dad, which is pretty good. And once again, if you're using Bon Clay, you want to make sure you have some type of chain boundary unit, which is why once again we're using the Yamato and Ace character for their super switch to give us the chain boundary. We'll get the conditional boost with their special as well, and we have a huge attack boost also with their special too. So we have huge attack boost with Ace Yamato, huge orb boost with Luffy. Now remember that the bottom row characters are inflicted with 3 turns of special reverse, so 2 turns of special reversed with Ace and Yamato special, which is great, and then also the super class of Luffy reduces cooldown by 1 for the crew. So this will enable us to deal with the special reverse on battle 2, and it deals with all the debuffs on battle 3. Now, this team is only really going to work if your Luffy is at level 4 or 5. My one is only at level 2, so I am not opting to use this team, but this is a team that should be able to do a pretty good amount of damage. So another character that you may want to look at is potentially Kara and Wanda. They are a cerebral unit, so they do receive the cooldown here. And the fact that their special removes, does 3 turns of special cooldown to a lot of characters, fighter, slasher, striker, cerebral, powerhouse. So they don't give cooldown to free spirit specifically, but if the character has a secondary class, it may fall under one of these classes here. So that might help you deal with some of the stuff on battle 2. Obviously, we talked about Super Tandem Luffy, who is really, really useful in terms of the cooldown that he provides and his amazing damage. But also, the Ace and Sabo could be an option for you as well, because they actually deal with the special bind on the final stage. They have a really good orb boost for free spirit characters, and also they have the ability to super switch, which can give you the massive color affinity boost and a full board of matching slots. So that is also another really cool option. And then once again, another character that just keeps popping up is this Mihawk, because once again, he deals with Special Bind, he deals with Rainbow Shield, so you may want to opt for this if you are opting to have a Slasher or a Cerebral Captain. You do have to be very, very careful about that. Captain has to be Slasher or Cerebral in order to remove the Rainbow Shield, but he does still remove Paralysis and Special Bind no matter what. So this is actually a pretty good free-to-play character you can use in this content to get around some of the gimmicks here. And now we can have a look at the final boss versus the 15-star Strength difficulty. Battle 1, there's going to be cooldown for Quick and Psy characters, and it is interesting that they actually list Quick and Psy both together, because the first thing that came to mind was the Usopp and Yasop dual unit. The fact that you could start as a Psy unit and then super switch into the Quick variation on Battle 3, and their switch effect is very good. Their max switch will give minus 30% resistance down for Shooter and Free Spirit, meaning that they themselves actually receive both of these buffs together, so they get a 60% damage increase just with their super switch. So that's pretty incredible, but also just the rest of the crew, if they're Free Spirit, they're going to get a full 30% damage bonus. If they're Shooter, they get a full 30% damage bonus. So in terms of the rest of the fight, Battle 2, 4.5 million health, and 3 turns of attack down. Now, I would probably advise to deal with that, because if you don't, then after turn 1, they're going to remove all your beneficial effects and accumulated values, 8 turns of despair, and all type slots, well, at least Strength, Quick, Dex, Recovery, and Tandem slots are badly matching for 5 turns. Not ideal in any scenario, but you know, you could get around it by activating a special, or if you have supports, right? 3 turns, you can deal with that usually with at least 2 supports. You could use like Quick Corazon support on like a Trafalgar Law, for example. That could potentially work. You could use like Heal Gore on a Luffy, which is probably not super ideal. there are ways around it, right? For the way this team that we're dealing with it is with this Dogstorm character. So Dogstorm, he does the 5 turns of attack down removal. He gives us an orb boost as well. And we are also using the support of Bobbin, which attaches to any quick unit. And it says when you are inflicted with attack down, you get the matching slot for the character and adjacent slots also matching. So we're attaching that to Ben Beckman in the middle row, and then we also have the carrot, the very, very important carrot, attached to the Dogstorm to remove the 1 turn of Special Bind and the 1 turn of Rainbow Shield, which will occur on the boss fight. Now, the boss fight is interesting in the fact that there's not a lot going on. So there is Special Bind and Rainbow Shield for 1 turn. There is 5 turns of defense up, and it's a lot of defense, so you want to try and remove that. And that's basically it. But the thing is he has an immunity buff, but only allowing defense down to go through. So you can just use a defense down effect, or you can use a defense up removal. One of those two will work. You need to have one of them in some sense. The way that we're doing that is by using Trafalgar Law. He's so good for this. His super class special, giving himself a tandem slot, and also a 3 turn 2.25 times conditional boost. Really, really good, allowing you to just for free get a conditional boost and also remove the defense down straight away. So that's awesome. Also, in the quick fight, there's like 2 different kind of scenarios you can go with. You can try and get the super tandem with Shanks, or get a super tandem with the Trafalgar Law. Whichever one you have maxed out first, do that one. Try and get that one leveled out and use that character's super tandem in this quest. If you have the Shanks, that is the most desirable super tandem because it only requires 2 taps in order to get it to activate. Luffy, Beckman, Lucky Roo, Yasop, Rockstar, Uta to get the 2.5 attack boost to your quick characters. That is definitely the better one to go with. The super tandem for the Law is only a 2 times boost, but it is to Free Spirit and Cerebral. So, it is what it is. Personally, I don't have my Shanks leveled out. I do have Law leveled out, so I'm probably going to have to relegate myself to that. But if you have the Shanks leveled out, oh my god, it's so much better. It's more efficient, and you get more damage more quickly. So that's going to help you out. We also have the special ability of Luffy, which will give us a huge attack boost. We have the Ben Beckman Lucky Roo, which can give us the Chain Boundary. Usually would use Law special first, though, to get his orb boost over Ben Beckman and Lucky Roo's orb boost. Shanks, because he gives us the color affinity and the chain multiplier buff, and then Usopp Yasop for base attack boost and also the conditional boost. But also because we have the Brook attached to Usopp and Yasop, we actually will get a 1.1 times chain multiplicative buff, which will further increase the chain multiplier. So we have chain boost, chain multiplier, and a chain boundary effect versus the strength fight. So with all that being said, that is going to wrap it up for me for the preparation video for the 15-star difficulty versus the super boss Kizuna against Soul King Brook. So, of course, the teams that I showed in this video probably are not going to be my final teams, but I wanted to give you guys at least something, preparing yourself to head into this super boss period here, because it's one of my favorite game modes, honestly, when super boss rolls around. So hopefully you guys have a really good time with it. That's going to wrap it up for me, though. Thank you so much for watching, and if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to go ahead and leave a like, and if you want to stay up to date with all of the content that I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. But on that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.